it's almost tough to talk about it without getting emotional, that someone allowed me to be a part of their father's essentially last hunt. They don't always know it's their last hunt, but I've had many messages and many phone calls that go, "Hey, Dad passed away," and just want to let you know. So always really special to be a part of that and able to, kind of move stuff around for them and get them in a position where they can get that last bird, because it's a special thing.
Welcome to the LandTrust Podcast, where land, technology, and the outdoors meet. Whether you're a landowner, an outdoor enthusiast, or someone curious about the future of recreation on private land, you're in the right place. Each episode, we share real stories from the LandTrust community, from unforgettable guest experiences to conversations with landowners about their land and why they choose to share it, plus interviews with leaders, shaping how we all experience the outdoors. And now, here's your host, Nick DeCastro.
Welcome to the LandTrust Podcast, where land, technology, and the outdoors come together. This episode is part of our Seasoned Host series, where we highlight landowners who've hosted many memorable experiences through LandTrust. I'm your host, Nick DeCastro, and I'm the founder of LandTrust. Today, we're headed down to Providence, Iowa, where 5th-generation farmer and rancher Adam Seward has turned his operation, Buckboard Livestock, into a destination that blends hunting, stewardship, and storytelling. Adam's a former U.S. Marine, an Iowa State alum, a husband and father of 5. He wears many hats, including running a land clearing business and managing the hunting lodge. Spanning 650 acres of row crop, timber, creek bottoms, and ponds, Adam's property offers prime habitat for whitetail, and he grows some big ones: turkey, pheasant, and waterfowl. But what really sets Buckboard apart is Adam's philosophy. He sees a symbiotic relationship between hunters and cattlemen, where shared land use can enrich local ecosystems and communities. His guests don't just leave with trophy photos, they leave with a deeper understanding of rural life, agricultural, and the complex issues facing the beef industry. We'll dive into his unique perspective, hear stories from the bunkhouse, and learn how a partnership with LandTrust changed his view on opening his land. Let's jump into it. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you much.
Well, appreciate you coming on. As we were just talking about, it sounds like planting up in your neck of the woods is kind of wrapped up, but how are things going on your side?
Things are going good. We're kind of missing the rains now. It's drying up a little bit, but give the plants plenty of opportunity to set some roots, so that should be nice.
Awesome. Well, for the listener out there, why don't you give us a little bit background? You're 5th generation. I think you got the 6th gen coming up, but give us a little bit of background on your family and the operation itself.
Yeah. Just like you said, been in the farming industry my whole life, from, raising horses to cattle to hogs, of course, corn, soybeans, alfalfa, all that stuff. Now my oldest son, he's kind of getting involved, and I'm able to kind of do some other endeavors. We also own a dead stock company, so I'm able to manage that as he gets to take on more farming responsibilities, and of course I still kind of manage the hunters, and he hasn't dove into that role yet. I'm going to keep that one for a while. I kind of enjoy that. So
well, that's great. And so your family's operation was what, late 1800s?
Actually, we came over on one of the 3 ships. And obviously we were on the East Coast for a while, and then we come out of Carolina. Wow. And so I think we've been in Iowa just 5 generations. So,
wow, that's incredible.
We've been farming for way longer than that. And
what part of Iowa, just to orient people? So New Providence is where?
Smack dab in the middle, north of Marshalltown, east of Ames. So yeah,
okay,
right smack in the middle.
And what unit are you guys for deer, by the way?
I want to say 7.
Yeah, I think you got a few properties with us listed, so it might be around a couple different areas.
Yeah, and
that stuff's all
I manage some other properties for guys, and so there's other zones as well, some southern Iowa stuff and stuff like that. But I think where I'm at is zone 5 or 7, but I want to say 7.
And yeah, I think we do have that information on your listings too.
Yeah,
so for people who are interested, they can check that out. So you've done a little bit of writing too. You're a Marine, but you can write, and you're pretty eloquent. So there we go. We got a article that you wrote a little bit ago. I think it was last year, about kind of the delicate dance between hunters and cattlemen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Give me your perspective on that.
The quick version of it is we are all fighting the same fight. And obviously we've always kind of been pinned to the 1% has always kind of pinned us against each other, and I'll acknowledge there's just as many, shitty cattlemen and shitty farmers out there. But we as cattlemen always remember the guy that cut our fence to go after the deer, or go after the elk. Yeah. And, from a political standpoint, and an environmental standpoint, we're the enemy, just like the hunters are the enemy, supposedly to the environment. So we need to do a better job, whether you're on the hunting side or the ranching side. We can be of service to each other, and especially when we need numbers in Washington, we need to be able to come together and just go, enough's enough, whether it's hunters reporting back saying, hey, you got a cow with foot rot, or, farmers reporting back going, hey, this is where the deer have been hanging out. There's a big buck in there. So we can certainly benefit each other. I think we need to figure out how to manage and enjoy the ground together was kind of the version.
I always go back to Aldo Leopold, kind of one of the founding fathers of American conservation. But his quote was, conservation will ultimately boil down to rewarding the private landowner who conserves the public interest. And so, I really do think, I started this company in the West, and obviously the West is where the most kind of public land is. And as you move further east, that just, there's less and less public land. So, the reality is 70% of the lower 48 is private, and 900-ish million of the 1.4 billion acres is ag land. And so when you really look at it as sportsmen, as people who love the outdoors, whether you like to hunt or fish or you're a bird watcher or whatever it might be, is we really need to understand that it is America's farmers, ranchers, and private landowners who are stewarding these resources at direct cost to themselves.
Right.
And, you're the one paying the taxes on it. You're the one who's got to go and deal with all of that and maintaining that land year round.
Yeah.
So, it is a symbiotic relationship. And so, one of the things I love about building this business over the last 6 years is the thousands and thousands of interactions between, people who love the outdoors and, landowners like yourself, and just kind of breaking those barriers down, because historically there has been a little bit of tension in certain parts of both sides, like you said.
Nick, I've never necessarily experienced the 1% of hunters. All my guys are awesome. To the point where I know the names of their son's daughter that I've never met. That they become a part of my life and a part of my operation, and asked to come out and asked to learn about it and learn about responsible, husbandry of the ground. That's the problem. We only hear about the 1%. We don't hear about the guys that are going out and doing great things, and same with the ranching side and the farming side. We always remember the shitty farmers. We always remember the shitty ranchers.
Yeah, the 9 out of 10 are great, and you remember the one bad experience. I remember starting this business. That was the issue with landowners, time and again, no matter where it was, whether they farmed or ranched, what part of the country they were in. It was, we used to let people come out, and then a bad experience, and that was it. So our model, I feel like, we read these reviews coming through every day. It's why we wanted to do a podcast like this, is to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak, about the actual interpersonal relationships that are built. Yes, there is a transaction, someone's paying to come out and enjoy a few days on your place or a week on your place to go hunt for deer or turkeys or whatever. But just because there's that financial transaction, it does not mean that it's some cold thing. There's so much relationship that goes around these experiences too.
Oh, there's huge relationships. I've been on so many first hunts, and probably more memorable is I've been on so many last hunts, and it's almost tough to talk about it without getting emotional, that someone allowed me to be a part of their father's essentially last hunt. And They don't always know it's their last hunt, but I've had many messages and many phone calls that go, "Hey, Dad passed away," and just want to let you know. So, always really special to be a part of that, and able to, kind of move stuff around for them and get them in a position where they can get that last bird, because it's a special thing,
Yeah. Yeah. I often say I feel very fortunate that I get to work in the business of lifelong memories and helping protect legacies,
Yeah.
So it's a cool business. It's a cool thing to be a part of. So you guys have hosted quite a few out of state. I wonder, have you hosted more out of state or in state? Probably out of state, right?
Out of state. I'm all out of state.
Which is really interesting. Iowa is a really tough state because of the way you guys run your tags. From a hunting perspective, it's really hard to draw deer tags.
Yeah.
So it is. Yeah, it is interesting that it's a lot more out of state. So, I don't know. What are those kind of conversations been like with people who may never have hunted Iowa before, or been in your region? I'm sure you've had people from different backgrounds, walks of life, ideologies, et cetera. So, I mean, how has it been to host people like that?
It's really interesting. I mean, of course, they're always very inquisitive about how we do things and how we run things. Obviously, they're always really amazed how I live, because it's so remote and rural. Most of these people are coming out of the Southeast. I would say probably 70% of my guys all come out of the Southeast, and
interesting.
You got to kind of have several different hats available, whether they're a Georgia Bulldog or a Auburn or whatever, Tennessee.
And you're Iowa State,
and I'm Iowa State. Yeah, so we gotta kind of make it known, But it's always fun, and majority of my guys come during bird season, so it's football time of year, and so it's always fun. But they enjoy it. They always ask me about I've been invited to 1,000 different places, and I always respectfully decline, but they go, "Man, it's on this side of the Mississippi. It's different," which it is. It's kind of still a land of the free out here a little bit. So.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So your land, obviously you're running cattle, you're doing row crop, but really healthy population of wildlife. I mean, I've seen some of the pictures of deer on your property. You're doing a great job from that perspective. So how do you balance kind of production ag, but also, having big deer and growing turkey populations and pheasant and all that kind of stuff? Like, how do you balance those on a day-to-day basis?
Well, that's a great question. First, you need to acknowledge the fact that you're going to have wildlife. Luckily, I've got a county just to the east of me, and of course, they have no habitat over there. So when it's hunting season, they want to come over here and hunt. And
they're just row crop, flat rectangles of corn and beans, no trees, nothing like that.
Yeah. So my journey got started, I guess, maybe with soil health. I was concerned about soil health, and I knew we needed to take some ground out of production. And at the time, a native grasses seemed to be the answer for kind of restoring or the start of restoring some of this ground. And once we got that going, we started seeing animals come back. And I as a Bible believer, I feel like I am to be a good steward of this land. And I don't know, I kind of developed into kind of a hippie role, I guess you could say. For not being a hippie, I do have some hippie tendencies. But it's really neat to start to see your animals back and share, I guess, the ground with them. And I've put my money, where my mouth is. I don't take a lot of CRP payments or anything like that. I feel like I can manage it way better than the state of Iowa can, and I make no bones about it. So I just take ground out of production, and a lot of times I can get some hay crop off it, and one time, and then let it grow up for cover, and it's worked out really well.
And then you can monetize, and this is kind of the message that we put out there. Then you partner with LandTrust and you can monetize. You took that out of production. Maybe it was marginal ground
Right.
to start with. It was, low spots or whatever it might be, but you took that out of production. You put it in native grasses, habitat for wildlife, and then you can monetize that through recreation, and you can still get a hay crop off it, right?
Well,
So,
you know what, and I apologize because I did miss an opportunity there because I guess LandTrust has been part of my life long enough now that I really don't talk about it. I just assume everybody knows, but yeah, you're exactly right. LandTrust has afforded me the opportunity to really step my game up and do a lot of different things, whether it's food plot, whether it's take more ground out of production. I can't imagine, I called back to the office out in Montana yesterday and talked to one of the guys out there. And I expressed to them that I couldn't imagine doing what I'm doing now with hosting people without LandTrust. I would probably quit hosting hunters. I want nothing to do with it because of what you guys take off my plate and allow me to do and, behind the scenes.
Oh, we appreciate that. And it's, it's a partnership. You guys are the landowners, you own the asset, and, we build the technology and do the marketing and try to make it as easy as possible, right? Making those relationships there. So I'm curious about some of you've mentioned being part of these different kind of life moments, whether it's first hunts or last hunts.
Sure.
Has there been any other kind of like interesting experiences by being a host on LandTrust that you didn't expect, or, anything that stands out to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I get thrown some odd hunts once in a while. I don't know if that's your doing or whose, but
just to keep it spicy.
Yeah, well, I think I've kind of proven myself that we can handle some maybe more delicate type scenarios. We've had some field and streams. We've had outdoor life. I'm missing a few. Some of them are really fun. Some of them gave you a glimpse into the industry, and I'm like, man, let's not do any more magazines. These guys are, difficult. Every guest is different. Every returning guest has different expectations, have different wants and needs. So that's been really fun to try to figure out how, and you just have to be a chameleon. You have to have stuff ready to roll and ready to kind of replace or move if need be. It depends on like I tell everybody, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't read minds. So you have to tell me if something is out of sorts or you need something different. And I tell them that right up front, and everyone is really
this is expectation setting. Yeah. I mean, that's, and that's when we talk to our landowner partners, it just, it's funny, especially in the kind of multi-generation farm and ranch community, they undersell what they have always. It's like, well, they grew up there, they work there, they live there every single day of their life. And so it's like, by definition, it's every day to them.
Yeah.
But we always just say, hey, look, just set expectations. And, if you're the photos and the description and kind of what you're offering, just make sure that the expectations are set, and then people can choose to opt into it or not. And, if it's the right experience for them or not.
Well, and Nick, there's other things you can do. I know I had some guys in, I don't remember, Tennessee, Virginia, someplace, and we had a front come in and everything shut down. I mean, there was no movement whatsoever. And you got to be fast on your feet. You got to have other things planned, and it's not a diversion tactic. It's just keep them occupied. You need to remember,
people
they're
are
not
looking for an experience.
Yeah, they're not here to kill an animal. That's what they're paying for. They're paying for that experience or exposure to that animal. That's great if they do it. They're here for fellowship. They're here for camaraderie. Yep. They're here to see new places. They're here to drink new beer. They're here to, all that stuff. So don't just sell the opportunity at that animal. Sell the whole experience. You got to make it to where they go, gosh. And at the end of the time, I always ask them, I go, hey, if you're not completely satisfied, you let me know. I'll call Montana. We'll get this fixed. And
Totally. Yeah.
And they're always happy, or at least they tell me. Maybe they're lying.
No, we see it come through in the reviews, and that's one of the things that we really touch on with the sportsmen who use this, especially on the hunt side. It's if you're, let's just say you waited 10 years to draw some special tag. None of your buddies can go, and like you really want, you're not going to be happy unless you kill that deer or whatever it might be.
Right.
Honestly, you should hire an outfitter probably. Like
Correct.
hire a guide and an outfitter. Go get it done. That's what they're there for. LandTrust is really about exactly what you're talking about. So I want to go to a new place with some friends or some family and have some new experiences and create lasting memories around this kind of hunt.
Yeah.
And camp is a big part of that. And just all some of my most memorable hunting experiences, we did not kill an animal. We didn't even see an animal, right? And so but it's who you're there with and all the context of that. So it really is about experience, not about, yes, by the way, if you're successful in a harvest, it's cherry on top for sure.
Yep.
But you're totally right. And we really make sure that not only our landowners understand that it's not, there's no pressure for you to like deliver and produce this 200-inch deer. That's not what this is about. You're not a hunting guide or a hunting outfitter. It's about giving the exclusive access to your property and just being a great host and letting them have a fun experience.
Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely right. It's and all the people I've met through LandTrust, all my hunters. Are awesome guys that are here to have fun and just whether it's get away from the wife, get away from the family, whatever it is, they're just they're detuning and it's been a fun experience and sometimes you have to help guys understand that. I've had to do that. And once we did that, he had a great time, but he was just wound up with his new dog and he wouldn't let his dog hunt. And finally I just said, man, you got to let your dog hunt. And once he let the dog hunt, it actually hunted. So,
honestly, I say at this stage of my life, I got, 3 young daughters and a business and, all the busyness that goes along with it. Camp is probably most of the hunting trip for me. It's just kind of disconnecting and getting to spend time with friends or family or whoever it might be. So I'm definitely at that stage of my life. And on that point, I think you built out your barn. Is that where you're sitting now or where are you at right now?
Yeah. I'm in my office right now. Yeah. But we built it out, just kind of made a little, kind of a shotgun shack up there for them to stay in. And then, obviously they've got, a little kitchenette and restrooms, and then we've got a bar down beneath it, and whether you're a drinker or you just want to sip coffee down there, it's the same thing. So we just repurposed, an old cattle feeder for the bar and so when it's cold and, in the evening time, they can come back and got a place to kick back. So
did you guys have that? Did you build that up before LandTrust or did you do it after?
After.
Right. So I think it was part of that. It was one of the calculations I think that we had talked about. And if you can't tell, Adam and I have become friends over the years. And he was actually just down here with his wife. And I moved to Alabama. So we were eating oysters down here a couple months ago. But as landowners who, again, you're on the seasoned side of our landowners, you've been around a while and hosted quite a bit. We've heard this again and again that, once they start hosting and kind of feel it out and see what the opportunity is, putting a little lodging, you can make more money and you could use it for your family yourself. It's your office. It's where 100%. You work every day. But hey, I can make a lot more money if people can book it. Because like you said, a lot of your guests are out of staters.
Yep.
And so it just makes it so much easier for them if they do have a lodging capability on your property. It's not required, but you can make a lot more money doing that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, everybody wants to, celebrate, at the close of for the evening. They want to celebrate with a beer with their dad or their uncle, their grandpa, whatever, whoever it is, their buddies. And it made sense to give them that opportunity without having to, put wheels underneath them for the night.
Drive into town and
So, we've got grills and all that stuff here, and we just sit here and I've got a company that services a bunch of butcher shops, and so I'm able to, pick up meat whenever they need it, and they just put an order in with me, and one of my trucks will bring it back and pork, whatever they want. It's everything's kind of self-contained here, and And we'll go out every so often, but it's always a drive, and they're normally tired, and they just want to have a beer and a steak and go to bed.
Yeah, there's nothing better, as a sportsman than waking up on the property you're going to hunt on.
Yeah.
You don't have to like wake up an hour before because you got to drive. It takes a lot of the stress, frankly,
Yeah,
out of
100%.
out of the whole process. Because I did a turkey hunt a couple years ago. Actually, that one with Dudley, and I think Dudley came up to see you. But
yeah, was that down in Missouri?
Funny. It was down in Missouri, and we did 2 properties back to back, and it was just really interesting to as the sportsman, as the guest.
Yeah.
The one property we stayed on, and the other property we couldn't stay on, and you're rural, they're rural. All of our landowners are pretty rural by definition.
Sure.
It was a 40 minute drive to town where we were staying.
Yeah.
And just the amount of additional stress, you're like, what time do you have to wake up to get there by sun? All that. I mean, it was still fun versus just like rolling out of the camper or whatever. It's just so much less stress. So I really do recommend landowners, once they start to get a feel for it, if there's the opportunity to have lodging, or even if it's, hey, we'll allow you to pull your camper, or you can put a tent up on our property.
Yeah.
I recommend offering that.
We do that a lot. I got some guys out of Virginia or Kentucky area, and they roll up in an RV, and a couple of them stay in the RV, and because I think we sleep 4 comfortably, and then we've got cots if you got some youngins or something, and there's 6 of you. But they bring their RV, and they're probably my favorite travelers because they all travel in it. They've got a restaurant,
self-contained.
It's pretty awesome little deal they've got going. So
awesome.
But it's have a good time.
Well, Adam, for any of the landowners out there who are, listening, who may have been thinking about it, or, it's a newer thing. It's not new, but it's newer. And you were early on in our company's life cycle, but you've been around a few years now. You're definitely a veteran. What would you say to other producers, especially, the owner operator, the producer who might be thinking about LandTrust versus whatever they may have been doing currently?
I would encourage it. And Nick, I can't remember. I was coming back from Wyoming or Montana, I was coming back from the West, and I believe you were on I was listening to XM radio on the Ag channel, and I believe you did an interview on it.
Oh,
that's how we met. I called.
Justin, was it with Justin Mills?
Yes.
Yeah. So Justin, it's funny. Justin just listed his property. He has 1 or 2 properties in Wyoming. He's listing right now.
Really?
They might be live, or they're going to be live in the next week. So it was with Justin a couple weeks ago.
I was, and it was one of those, more political cattle convention type deals. And so I was already pumped up, and then I heard you on there, and I'm like, that son of a bitch is trying to take more ag ground. So I called it, and it must have been the next day, because that was on a Sunday. I was coming back. And the next day I called out to Montana, and it was going to rip everybody there. And the phone conversation was about a half hour long, and I was signed up by the end of it.
Yeah.
So I was going to chew your ass, and then I ended up signing up.
People, to be fair, especially to the producer community, when they hear LandTrust, and I just want to say, before I started this company, I did not know what conservation easements were. I didn't know what traditional land trusts were.
Yeah, right.
I just took 2 very important words. So, to be fair to the producer or the landowner who might hear land trust and hear conservation easement, that's totally fair. So it's probably what kind of tipped you off there. You're like, these guys are going to get out there, and
yeah. No, I would give it a shot. Obviously, we're in the process. My guy Jake, he's moved on to different endeavors. He'll kind of always be my guy, and he was just a maniac when it came to helping me out. So I'm learning, the other guys now, and Josh and I got a pretty good relationship going, and I would feel him out. I have never had regrets. Maybe I'm special. I've always felt like I was kind of paraded around the team as being kind of special, or, and that could just be how you guys treat everybody. I don't know, but I would really give them a call, feel it out, pray about it, think about it, do all that stuff, because I have not had any time when I went, this sucks. I've had time where I'm going, man, I can't wait for my hunters to be done. I'm kind of tired of, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it in, I'm kind of a private guy.
And you're a pretty hands-on host, to be fair, you really get involved, and that's great. Our landowners can be involved, or some of our landowners never meet their guests. They're just cool, I'm working.
And I should note that these are all things that I brought on myself. I took the booking. I'm the one that gets up at 4:00 and make sure they've got some breakfast in their belly before they go out if they want it. I stay late, and make sure they got a steak that night if they need it. So I kind of painted myself into the corner. I'm just saying, when at the end of my season, I'm like, yeah, I could use a Friday or a Saturday.
A steak. Yeah, you could use a steak and a bourbon.
Yeah. So but back to answering your question, golly, especially if you just inherited ground, you can be as busy as you want to be. You can be as involved as you want to be. It's worth a listen. As you know, Nick, you got a lot of great guys on your team that are able to articulate exactly what you do and what you don't do. And, man alive, I'm not looking back, I guess. I'm very content and very happy. And I wish we had a summer season sometimes,
Yeah, I know. That's the next big thing for us is going to be, how do we, again, help our landowners kind of monetize if they want to, or year round, right? So maybe there's some stuff that can be done around more traditional ag tourism. So, I bring my 3 daughters out and we learn how you guys do, production or whatever it could be. Yeah. So I think there are opportunities as we continue to grow. Stuff like photography, there's a lot of people who do wedding photos that they want to go do it on a pretty farm with a pretty farm background. So that's the partnership for us. Is our job is to go figure out what are these other markets, what are these other types of people that would love to have access to, your land as a landowner for different activities. And then we bring that to you and you can say yes or no to whatever.
Yeah. I think they'll organically come.
Yeah.
It's just, and not everything in my eyes needs to be monetized from my standpoint. I'd love to teach them about, husbandry and animal husbandry and even, we're going to be coming up on, our food plot times, and I always have guys ask if they can come out and see how we do our food plots and stuff like that. So that's not monetized. I said, yeah, just come out and, if you want to rent the room, you sure can. And, or if you just want to hang out for the day. So, that's always, and I think I actually got some guys, we won't do anything until late summer, but, I think they're going to come out and just kind of figure out how we do it. And, obviously I'm going to explain to them that my soils are a lot different than their soils and they need to, take that into consideration. But, it's always amazing when I'm sharing with them how I set my properties up for the doe, not the bucks, and they're just flabbergasted. But, and I said, well, back in high school, did you go to a lot of parties where there went girls?
Did you go to bars where there were a lot of girls? Yeah.
If you got does, you're going to have bucks. So, I don't worry about the bucks. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. This is just how I do it,
Well, I've seen some of the bucks you got, and, unless that's just very normal in Iowa, you had some really big bucks. But I was going to ask you as we kind of wrap up here, do you have any, that one, you had 2 about a year ago, and I think one of them died from something disease, but it was a incredible stud. Do you have any young bucks coming up?
Well, obviously we have those genetics running around, but we had EHD real bad this year. Right. A lot of big bucks were found in the river, and we were really dry, and it kind of looks like we might be heading towards dry again. I don't really get into the that side of things. I like seeing deer. Iowa is such a hard place to draw a tag. It's probably going to take your out-of-state guy probably minimum 3 years. So I don't really. I've got my my old school hunters that are coming from different states when they draw, and they've been putting in for years and years, and coming quite often. But other than that, I don't really mess with the deer. they're fun to look at, fun to take pictures of, and
Yeah.
I'm more on the bird and duck side of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've been putting a lot of work in to continue to grow your pheasant population and, habitat and all that stuff, which is amazing. Again, that goes back to the very beginning of the conversation of, landowners, farmers, ranchers, they are the stewards of this resource. And, for someone like you who's putting effort in to grow that pheasant population, and that requires habitat, requires a bunch of different stuff. I mean, I think you're going to see the rewards of that coming.
Yeah. And, we had that H5N1 skier. That was right over Christmas. I know Iowa State University sent a bunch of people out to California to help with that. It was in the dairy farm. And so we had, that was kind of in the back of our head going, good Lord, do we let these dogs retrieve them? Do we let these dogs even hunt them? So so hopefully that kind of dies down over the summer and we don't have to worry about that, because our numbers are coming back up but yet again, with as cheap as corn is right now, everybody's getting nervous and, they're wanting to plant more to kind of spread cost out. And so I hope we don't lose any more habitat over low commodity prices.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, 6 to 9 months as some of the stuff kind of plays itself out. So, well, Adam, I appreciate you coming on. I'm looking forward to, I assume you're getting ready to kind of hand off a lot of stuff to the next generation in the coming years. And we appreciate your partnership. So, I don't know if do you guys do social media? Do you have like Facebook page or Instagram or anything you want people to look at?
No, we got just a website for the company, but unless they need dead animals.
Of course, you have their LandTrust listings. Yeah. We'll direct people there too. And we'll put links to. I'm
on Facebook if someone wants to reach out and ask me a question about it or.
Yeah.
But LandTrust is always the best thing, to go through, I guess.
Yeah, you directly connect right to Adam. You get text message. It's super easy. So I appreciate you coming on, man, taking some time out of your morning, and appreciate your partnership throughout the years, and looking forward to more.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
That was Adam Seward from Buckboard Livestock in New Providence, Iowa. A big thanks to Adam for sharing his story and for being one of the many seasoned hosts who are building bridges between private land and the outdoor community. If you're interested in experiencing buckboard livestock yourself, whether you're looking for that giant Iowa whitetail that you've been dreaming about for the last few years, or to get out after turkeys or waterfowl or upland birds, you can find his listings. He has multiple listings with us by searching Buckboard Livestock on LandTrust.com, or you can click on the links in the show notes. And if you're a landowner who's thinking about listing your land, it's really easy to get started for free. Just head to LandTrust.com/landowners to learn more. We have tons of videos and resources there of other landowners just like Adam who've been with LandTrust for years and can give you their personal testimonies. Or you can call or text us at 406-709-8450. Our team is happy to help you answer any questions. And also we build and do everything for you. It's totally free. So if you're in the tractor, you've got some windshield time, again, you can give us a call or shoot us a text at 406-709-8450. Also, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends, family, or anyone else you think might be interested. It definitely helps us grow the show and keep great guests like Adam coming on. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, if you're looking for your next great outdoor experience, you know where to find it, LandTrust.com. See you next time.